Big shout out to Disney for claiming my video for 20 seconds of film and then releasing it less than 40 hours later. Why did you claim it in the first place?
Number 13, the ending multiplication effect.
Even after watching this thing all the way through, I have no idea what that is supposed to mean.
Since the first Star Wars movie, the endings have been getting more and more complicated.
I don't think this is more complicated than this. This is just an interpersonal reveal about a relationship. This is the destruction of the most powerful military installation in the galaxy. One has a little more weight and galactic size implication than the other.
Culminating with episode 1. After that, they toned it down because they think they realized how awful it was. But let me break it down here. A New Hope. The story is flawlessly.
It was perfect. There were no mistakes anywhere. My God, what a take. No, guys, The Phantom Menace is bad because A New Hope is flawless.
Built up to the final conclusion. Stop the Death Star before it blows up the planet.
Why didn't they just jump the Death Star to the other side of the planet where the moon they knew they would be targeting is? Icy, it's flawless. Shut the fuck up.
The Empire Strikes Back. All story points converge at Cloud City. Luke has his first confrontation with Vader, and Leia and friends try to escape.
And that's the more complicated ending of the two.
Return of the Jedi. Luke confronts the Emperor. There's a battle on Endor to destroy the shield generator, and the Rebel fleet attacks the Death Star. And you got 3 stories going on at once.
Oh my God, I just fucking figured it out. He actually thinks that because there's more storylines happening, it's a more complicated ending. The stuff happening in those storylines, that doesn't matter. It just is the fact that there's more of them.
Finally, we get to the Phantom Menace. Gungans fight the droid army. Queen Amidala storms the palace to get the Viceroy. Anakin and Naboo pilots attack the droid control ship, and Jedi's lightsaber fight in the Theed power room. So you got 4. This was one of the major mistakes made in episode 1.
Why?
Ironically, the simplest endings, the first 2 movies, with the least locations and events, are vastly more interesting.
I feel like I'm kicking a toddler. I disagree. I think the ending of TPM is more interesting. Boom. Argument destroyed. Again.
Because the plot is built up to them.
You gotta be shitting me, right?
And we can focus on the one thing.
I'm not an infant. I can pay attention to more than one event at a time, especially when they're neatly separated by distinct visual styles, like this.
After the rough cut screening of the movie for the first time, everyone in attendance looks just as baffled at the clusterfuck as we were.
No, I'm not doing it again. No. Alright, one more time. I wasn't baffled by the ending. Although I do really wish that I could see how different this screening was to what we got. How interesting would that have been?
George admits to throwing too much out there.
I may have gone too far in a few places.
Yeah?
He didn't go far enough. Commit to your ideas, George. Give them room to develop and grow. Your world is amazing, and I wish you would come back to breathe new life into it.
The editor then attempts to explain pacing and why 4 scenes with totally different emotional tones don't work well together.
In a space of about 90 seconds, you go from lamenting the death of, a hero, to escape, to slightly comedic with Jar Jar, to Anakin returning with his...
But he kind of realizes he's wasting his time, so he stops.
So I don't trust your ability to recant anything accurately anymore, so I'm double checking all the clips you use. And crazily enough, you're lying again because you're a dickhead. Here's the full fucking clip in context.
I may have gone too far in a few places.
In a space of about 90 seconds, you go from lamenting the death of, a hero, to escape, to slightly comedic with Jar Jar, to Anakin returning with his little kind of tag. It's a lot, and it's a very short time.
Boggles the mind.
He doesn't stop, and you know it. Why do you insist on being like this?
Rick McCallum is frozen in utter shock at how horrible the movie was.
Everyone knows you're just speculating here for a jab. It's still lame. Quit doing shit like this. It doesn't make your point any better. It just makes you look like an asshole.
Internally, he regrets not challenging Lucas on some of the things he was worried about.
Like what? Did you watch this clip?
Think about the very first Star Wars, sitting in there.
Yeah. No, I know.
And
It's-
it starts open, and you don't know what the hell.
I do a particular kind of movie of which this is consistent, but it is a very hard movie to follow, and at the same time, I've done it a little more extremely than I've ever done in the past.
You obviously did, because it's in your video, you just don't play the audio. He's obviously pushing back on some of Lucas' ideas here. Rick doesn't seem to really understand Star Wars. He just wants to make sure whatever they're making is functional, because idiots like you will get on the internet and make garbage reviews tearing it apart for ridiculous reasons.
Lucas then realizes that he can't remove major segments of the movie in editing because they're intertwined.
I mean, I've thought about this quite a bit, and the tricky part is you almost can't take any of those pieces out of there now, because each one kind of takes you to the next place, and you can't jump.
No, I love it.
Hey, it's too late now. Later on, after everybody started drinking, Lucas attempts to explain his newly minted bowel movement as bold and extreme, stylistic.
It's stylistically designed to be that way, and you can't undo that, but we can diminish the effects of it.
I mean, it was, and it is. The project was incredibly ambitious, the story was unique, and the way it all comes together was complicated and requires the attention of the audience to some of the more minor details in the film. George believed in his fans enough to take risks like that. Big mistake, apparently.
No one looks like they know what's going on, and they all look like they're about to start pointing fingers. But that's just my interpretation of this footage.
At least he clarified, I guess.
I wasn't there. So now we get to the ending. They burn Qui-Gon's body, they celebrate Yoda's, there's like an Indian chick there, and there's another thing that looks like Yoda, but it kind of looks like a midget.
YouTube autoscript censored midget, by the way. Why?
And then later on, or earlier or something, Yoda and Obi-Wan are talking in the castle.
That was earlier. Anakin is wearing Jedi robes and has a Padawan braid here. I guess it's obviously too much to hope you'd actually pay any attention to the film at this point.
And Yoda says,
Grave danger I fear in his training.
I gave Qui-Gon my word.
"Oh, you gave Qui-Gon your word."
Yeah, it was his master's dying wish. Yoda understands there's danger in Anakin's training, but there's nothing he can really do about it now. If he doesn't allow Obi-Wan to do it with the permission and guidance of the Council, Obi-Wan will do it anyway, out of obligation to Qui-Gon. And then there will be 2 rogue Jedi that they have to deal with, and one who is improperly trained and resents them for it.
I suppose it's better to rely on that than rather the whole prediction of grave danger.
You can at least try to control Anakin and the danger he presents if you bring him into the Order.
So it seems like the Jedi Council reluctantly agrees to let Obi-Wan train the boy for no real reason.
It's too late. No. Obi-Wan. Promise me you will train the boy.
Yes, Master.
He is the chosen one. He will bring balance. Train him.
Hey, remember, this is not like some kind of boardroom of company executives making a decision about applesauce packaging. These are Jedi Masters whose entire existence is solely based on the Force, feelings, premonition, and prophecy.
Isn't it great that he learned what a Jedi was between parts 6 and 7? That's awesome. Good for you, Mike.
When they all feel weirded out and predict grave danger, you'd think they, of all people, would follow their own instincts.
Yeah, they don't have a choice, Mike. Qui-Gon's death fucked them.
But instead, for no reason at all,
Master Yoda, I gave Qui-Gon my word. I will train Anakin.
they allow the training.
Agree with you, the Council does. Your apprentice, Skywalker, will be.
Hey, maybe you should have just said no.
And then he'd do it anyway.
Yoda's supposed to be really wise, right?
wisdom is subjective.
Fear leads to anger. Anger leads to hate. Hate leads to suffering.
Wait, what did he just say? Maybe he isn't that wise, 'cause that don't make a lick of sense. Fear leads to anger. Anger leads to hate. Hate leads to suffering. Can't anger lead to fear? And fear lead to suffering? And then suffering lead to hate?
That's his whole point. These emotions flow into each other. They are natural outcomes of one another. There's plenty of reasons to call Yoda unwise. This is not one of them.
You see, when you have three totally interchangeable emotional states, they can't really be arranged in a certain pattern of logic.
Wait, Plinkett knows what logic is?
Let me share some real wisdom with you.
Oh my God! Okay, it's happening. Everybody stay calm.
What's the procedure, everyone? What's the procedure?
Stay calm!
Wait.
Everybody calm down!
Chicken leads to egg. Egg leads to omelet. Omelet leads to fecal urgency.
Well, I don't know what I expected.
Number 14, the aftermath. The Phantom Menace is now the greatest example of cinematic blue balls in the history of motion pictures.
And we're still sure that this isn't a Last Jedi review.
Hey, I ain't talking about the kind the Gungas had.
Gungas.
Never again will anything be more wildly anticipated or a bigger disappointment.
Ah, fucking hell, it was your fault. You cursed it. You can't just say that kind of monkey paw shit and then not expect the universe to prove you wrong just to spite you.
So who dropped the ball?
You did, asshole. Watch the fucking movie.
Well, I guess you could say it was everyone involved in the production.
This part goes on forever and it's just him shitting on the entire production crew, and I want to skip it all so badly you have no idea.
Mainly the producers and those higher up on the food chain. Sure, it's easy to blame George for the script and doing everything wrong.
Fuck you.
But those people who didn't challenge Lucas on some of the questionable ideas,
Like what?
they also carry some blame. To quote Gary Kurtz,
Yeah, great quote. Why is the film bad though?
you can really see this in the behind the scenes videos. People look scared around George.
No, they look kind of bored. But that's just speculation again. It's completely irrelevant. Why does it matter to the movie at all?
They laugh at his bad jokes.
You're listening to the music.
Is that a bad joke? This is a tense moment for everyone, and George is just trying to lighten the room a little.
When he comes into a room, there's like silence and fear and terror. Every so often you'll catch some looks of confusion and mistrust. You gotta wonder what some of these people were thinking.
Why? Will that finally help me see why this movie is bad?
Now again, I must stress, I wasn't there and I can't pretend to know all the goings-on behind the scenes.
So why are you trying to?
But it all seems pretty obvious if you think about it.
What seems obvious?
Lucas has always been a rogue filmmaker who hated the studio system. He always seemed to want total control on his projects, which I can understand.
His vision gave us the flawless original. I think he's earned a little creative control.
And while a director should have control on the project, filmmaking should also be a collaborative process.
You just say shit. Why? Why should it be collaborative? What if your staff are witless hacks, but they know how to get a great camera shot?
The second screenwriter can help focus the story and the dialogue.
Or, right, he could destroy both of those things and make them nonsensical.
Actors are creative people too. They can provide valuable insight on the characters and a lot of really good ideas.
I love you.
I know.
Well, you say you're woke, but the companies you work for, I mean, unbelievable. Apple, Amazon, Disney. If ISIS started a streaming service, you'd call your agent, wouldn't you? So, if you do win an award tonight, don't use it as a platform to make a political speech, right? You're in no position to lecture the public about anything. You know nothing about the real world. Most of you spent less time in school than Greta Thunberg. So, if you win, right, come up, accept your little award, thank your agent and your God, and fuck off, okay?
And a good executive producer can be the voice of reason when things start to get out of hand.
Uh-huh, yeah, sure. Where did things get out of hand, exactly?
I think all this can be summed up with the expression, art from adversity.
What the fuck are you talking about?
The original Star Wars was plagued with problems. Nothing worked right, things were rushed, I guess, but it ended up being a great movie.
Flawless, I've heard.
When you can make a movie entirely in a computer and then shoot everything against a blue screen in some kind of sterile laboratory, well, some of the magic is lost.
Yeah, fuck right off. Have you seen Infinity War? All green screens, all fucking amazing. Link below, astonishingly good film. It has problems, whatever, fine, fuck off. It's still the best superhero movie ever made, and it isn't even close.
When Obi-Wan was walking around in Camino, George showed him concept paintings of, okay, now you're walking down a hallway and you're looking and you're seeing the cloning facilities, but there was nothing for him to see.
Credit to Ewan, his acting on Camino was spectacular, even without really having anything to work off of.
It ends up all looking so clean and sterile, and it lacks humanity, it lacks grit.
Yeah, no grit here. That too inhuman.
The Phantom Menace also makes you wonder. With total control on every aspect of the film, from the writing to directing to casting, etc.
We've been over this all the way back in like part 1. It's not true. Stop it.
This was the result?
Yes, it is. And it's kinda great. One of the most underrated films of all time because of people like you.
Then when you hear tales about how Luke was supposed to be a 65-year-old man with a robot head.
Well, that sounds fucking awesome. What?
Han Solo was supposed to be like a frog.
Cool.
And C-3PO was like a slimy used car salesman type.
C-3PO might sound like a used car salesman.
You have to just wonder, what if? What if Lucas had the kind of control back then he has today?
I mean, that movie sounds like it might have been pretty cool. I like what we have, but I'd be interested in watching that one.
Now, I ain't gonna say much more here.
Oh, thank God.
I don't know all the facts.
When has that ever stopped you, Mike?
Now, I haven't really discussed yet what I found to be the most odd and out-of-place scene in the whole movie.
You haven't discussed any odd or out-of-place scenes at all, except for the Jedi running really fast for 2 seconds.
When we first go into Watto's shop, and Jar Jar's messing around with the junk in the background.
Really? The junk shop?
There's a part where things slow down, and then a talking pizza roll appears and starts talking directly to the audience. It says to butcher your wife in the bathtub.
Hello. You know what to do. Use the meat cleaver and swing hard to break the bone. Put the body in the dumpster. And be careful not to get any blood on the carpet, because it doesn't wash out.
I found this scene to be really out of place and not make a whole lot of sense in the context of the movie. I'm not sure what Lucas was going for here, but considering some of the other scenes in the film, I guess it made sense.
I mean, I was fine with the joke up until here, but you gotta prove shit like this before you just start taking a dump on stuff. Otherwise, you sound dumb.
Now, I'd like to discuss further...
Plinkett! Plinkett, open up! We have a warrant for your arrest.
It's the Freds, hold on.
Break down the door.
Oh God, they're breaking down the door. Hold on, I gotta get my gas. Stay back, coppers, I'm packing heat.
Drop the weapon. Drop the weapon.
Fire. Return fire.
Eat lead.
906. Requesting backup. Requesting backup. We have an officer down. We have an officer
Eat lead, commies. Take that! Get out of my house! Get out of my creepy house! Don't go in my basement either! I've been hit!
You know what to do.
This was my favorite part of the entire series. It gives me immense pleasure imagining Plinkett getting shot because I am petty and vindictive. And that's also the end of the review, ladies and gentlemen, and the end of my response. Plinkett pointed out 2 genuine mistakes, called the movie boring like 14 times, and then proceeded to ignore everything in the movie for about an hour and a half, culminating in him blaming the production team for a shit movie. Why is it shit? Because it's boring, and nothing that Plinkett ignored or cut out was explained, except where it was. Shut up, neckbeard nerd, it's comedy. Criticisms are subjective. If your experience with the movie was bad, the movie is bad, idiot. What a blast. I have been very careful not to say what I think about this movie until this part. Yes, it is, and it's kinda great. One of the most underrated films of all time, because of people like you. Going out of my way to leave my opinions out of all the points I made or responded to the best of my ability. So here's the big moment, right? My rating for this movie. After all this work I've done, what do I really think of it? I think this movie is between this number and this number. I know, but I want to do a full deep dive into the Phantom Menace, exploring every aspect of it I can. And I want to release that to you all so I can give a full justification for my answer. I can't really do that here, since Mike's review was written in crayon by a toddler on a napkin at IHOP, and has almost nothing of value in it at all. One day we will explore it together.
But it is not this day.
The recent outpouring of support has been insane. Thank you to everyone who has clicked on these videos and given them a chance. I genuinely appreciate it. I want to give a special thank you to Bubble Boy and Giant Dwarf for helping me get started and giving me the confidence to keep working on this project. To all the people who have given me exceptional feedback and criticisms to build on my work, thank you. I'm working on a small project that will take me about 3 weeks to finish, but once it's done, I will be back with a new set of videos. No spoilers. See you next time. Mwah!